What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to Not Your Average Meta, an MTG Commander channel dedicated to bringing you decks and commanders you wouldn't normally find in your average meta. This week's video is brought to you by our new channel sponsor, International MTG. If you're looking for competitive pricing on your favorite MTG cards, old and new, be sure to check out the International MTG store and TCG Player, link in the description of this video. This week on Not Your Average Meta, we're back at it again, posting our first game after going to Command Fest 2022 in Indianapolis. 10 out of 10, it was a great experience overall, and I'd like to give a big thanks to all the players that we met and got to talk to while at the convention. First up this week, we have Gavin playing his newly modified Tivit Seller of Secrets deck. This deck is looking to use political cards in order to make each of his opponents vote, but only in his favor. Next, we have Ryan playing his new Aura Skyclave Hierophant deck. This is a Cleric Tribal deck that looks to use classic Orzhov sacrifice shenanigans to create a reoccurring value engine. Then we have Justin playing his Mono Green deck, which is led by Multani Yavimai's Avatar. This deck looks to ramp, and then ramp some more in order to make his commander big enough to stomp all over his opponents. Finally, we have Foggrow playing Brina the Demigorg. This deck is his spin on an Angel Tribal deck where he's looking to take advantage of Graveyard Recursion in order to help him cheat in all of his powerful angels. Now that we have our fighters, let's step into the Thunderdome and see which deck will come out on top. Turn 1, Justin plays a Forest and passes turn. Fog plays an Evolving Wilds for turn and then cracks it to go get a snow-covered swamp. Gavin plays an Urza Saga for turn and also passes. Ryan draws for turn and plays a tapped Caves of Koleos. Justin plays a second Forest for turn before paying 2 to cast a pair of Swiftfoot Boots. Fog plays a Snow-Covered Plains for turn and then pays 2 to cast a Fellwar Stone and passes. Gavin draws and takes his Saga up on his upkeep. He then plays a Flooded Strand for turn before paying a life to crack it in order to go get a Godless Shrine, paying 2 life to have it come into play untapped. Gavin then pays 2 for a Howling Mine. Ryan draws 2 cards on his upkeep and plays a Forest before taking a life to use his Caves in order to cast an Authority of the Councils. On his draw step, Justin draws 2 cards, plays another Forest for turn, and then passes. Fog draws 2 cards on his draw step, and then plays another Snow-Covered Plains. He then pays 3 and gifts Gavin with a Pendant of Prosperity. Gavin draws 2 cards on his upkeep and then uptakes his Saga again. He then goes to get a Soul Ring from his library, and floats a colorless mana before sacking his Saga. Gavin then pays 2 life and plays an untapped Hollowed Fountain before paying 3 for a Monologue tax. He then pays to use the Pendant, which has both him and Fog drawing a card and playing an extra land. Ryan draws 2 cards on his upkeep and then plays a High Market for turn. He then taps out, paying 1 life in order to cast a Righteous Valkyrie. Justin draws 2 cards on his draw step, plays another Forest, and then passes his turn once again. On his draw step, Fog draws 2 cards and then plays another Snow-Covered Plains. He then taps out to cast a Bolas' Citadel for 6, before looking at the top card of his library and paying 3 life to cast a Protection Racket. He then looks at the top card and pays 5 more life to cast Rampage of the Valkyries. This then has him creating a tapped 4/4 Angel token, which has Ryan gaining a life. Gavin draws 2 cards on his draw step before casting a Dimir Signet with his Soul Ring. He then taps out, losing a life in order to cast Council's Judgment. In turn order, Gavin votes for Fog Citadel, Ryan also votes for the Citadel, while Justin and Fog both vote for the Authority of the Councils. Both permanents are then exiled, and Gavin pays to use the Pendant, having both him and Fog draw a card and play an extra land. Ryan draws 2 cards on his upkeep and then plays a Forest for turn. He then taps out, loses a life, and casts his commander, Aura. Justin draws 2 cards on his draw step and then plays another Forest. He then pays 3 to cast Nissa Vastwood Seer and goes to find a Forest to put in his hand from his library. Justin then pays 1 to cast Elephant Grass and then another 1 to equip his boots to his Nissa. On his upkeep, Fog reveals the top cards of his library, which has Gavin paying 0 life, Ryan paying 4 life, and Justin paying 0 life. He then puts the non-exiled cards into his hand and draws 2 cards on his draw step. Fog then pays 2 to cast Night's Whisper, which has him losing 2 life and drawing 2 cards. He then plays another Snow-Covered Plains before paying 2 for a Mind Stone, and then another 3 for Dark Deal. Gavin then responds to this by countering it with a Muddle the Mixture, and Fog passes. Gavin draws 2 cards and plays an Exotic Orchard for turn. He then pays 4 to cast a Smothering Tithe, and then another 2 to activate his Pendant, which has him and Fog both drawing a card and playing an extra land. Ryan draws 2 cards on his draw step, and then plays a Castle Locthwain. He then taps out to cast Call to the Grave, before going to combat, swinging his Valkyrie Gavin for 2 damage. On his upkeep, Justin pays 1 to keep his Elephant Grass, and then sacks his Nissa to the Call to the Grave. He then draws 2 cards and plays another forest and plays a Zuran Orb. Justin then pays 3 to cast Strata Scythe and goes to exile a forest from his library. On his upkeep, Falk pays 3 to cast Generous Gift to destroy Ryan's Call to the Grave, giving him a 3/3 elephant token. He then reveals the top card of his library, which has Gavin paying 0 life, Ryan paying 0 life, and Justin paying 0 life. Falk then puts the non-exiled cards into his hand and draws 2 cards on his draw step. He then plays another Snow-Covered Plains for turn before paying 2 for an Arcane Signet, another 2 for Giada, Font of Hope, and then 3 more to cast his commander, Brina. On his end step, Gavin casts Vampiric Tutor to go find a card and put on top of his library while he loses 2 life. Gavin draws 2 cards on his draw step and plays a Verdant Catacombs for turn. He then pays 3 to play an Academy Manufacturer and another 2 to cast Time Sieve. Gavin then pays 1 life to crack his Verdant Catacombs and goes to his library to go get a basic swamp for the field. After which, he taps the rest of his mana in order to cast his commander Tivit. Gavin then votes twice to give himself treasures, while each other player also has to then vote to give him either a treasure token or a clue token. At this point of his turn, Gavin explains to the table that with the use of his Time Sieve and abundance of artifacts, that he now has the ability to take infinite turns, at which point everybody agrees to just scoop the game up and give him the win. Alright, we got Gavin here. He pulled out another infinite combo so we can get a win on the channel. How's it feeling?
Feels good. I can't wait to hear in the comments how I cheated my way into another victory. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you can see more games and decks you wouldn't normally see in your average meta.